happy Thanksgiving Eve. And this is I thought it'd be a good time to do a live question and answer and also kind of a forecast of what I thought would happen in the next few months. And so it's Thanksgiving. People are getting ready for the holidays. And so what better thing to do than to talk about what lies ahead. So if you're planning on moving here, you're planning on even leaving, but you're planning on, mainly relocating to the area, big area. I want to talk about lots of house-related things, possibly some market-related things, some things I would expect that might happen in the next few months that might influence you if you plan on moving to the area anytime in the next few months. So I want to make sure you know about like what the housing market looks like. Also want to make sure you know what to prepare for, because right now, I think I'm seeing a lot of people that they think they know that they're ready to buy a house or to move here, but there are some things that are happening real quickly and short order that I don't think people are prepared for. And so I want to talk about like the whole step process from beginning. You decide you're going to be moving here to the end when you actually get here. So if you have any questions, you can post them. I'm going to go through. I do have some topics I want to cover that I think will be relevant here. But first thing first, I want to tell you my favorite dish in Thanksgiving is stuffing. So if you comment below if you like stuffing also. Other than that, let's get to the house stuff because I've got some good things to cover. And so the first thing I want to mention is when you're moving to this area into the next couple of months, 2-3 months, I think you're going to be hearing a lot of news stories about not just what this area, what's happening in this area, but also what's happening in the national real estate market. And that has been creating some questions between, people moving here, people that are selling here. No one really knows what's going to happen. No one really knows what's going on. The interest rates are still really low. But there aren't many people that are selling their houses. And so it's become almost like a game of chicken. Like, okay, well, people don't want to put their house in the market until they know that people are ready to buy, meaning right now in November, December, people don't want to do that. Well, at the same time, there are a lot of people that have not been able to get houses in the last few months that are still trying to get houses. And they're not finding as much either because there aren't as many houses on the market. So people are waiting for each other in a sense. And so what I think, and this is often what happens, is that once you get into January, you will start seeing an uptick in activity, both buyers and sellers. And every first day of the year, business day of the year, I usually get people that are ready to start looking for houses. So as a seller, you can kind of prepare for that. But as a buyer, know that that happens every year. And this year being as unique as it's been is still similar to the rest of the years past in that regard. So be prepared. And so my point in saying that is if you are planning on moving here and you have time between now and the end of the year and you want to find something, I would suggest trying to find something now as opposed to in the next couple of months, because everybody usually waits for the same thing. It's not comfortable or enjoyable necessarily to look for houses during the holiday season, but if you do, I think you will find a value to be had. So now I'll show you some statistics later that talk about what happens in the end of the year and how prices change as you go into the next year. So actually, you know what I'll do right now? I'm going to show you, I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. I'm going to give you some statistics. Oh, I will in a minute. First, I'm going to show you the interest rates so you can get an idea. So when you're looking at interest rates, this is the historical chart of interest rates over the last, 30 years. And as you can see, interest rates have gone down, generally speaking, ever since the early 1980s. And down to now here, we're in the low 3% range, and it's bumped down in that mid upper 2s. And you can start seeing it kind of trend up just a little bit. Well, I've done some analysis over the last several. Oh, there we go. Is that better? You can see that now. There we go. So you can see that it bumps down there right near the bottom there, the 2-3% range. And so it's been trending up just a little bit over the past couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And so I see that possibly that trend staying the same for a little while. But if you notice that it's been under 4 for a good couple of years. And I've also noticed over the last several years that as interest stays under 4%, the prices of houses still continue to climb based on the low interest rates and again based on demand. However, my point here is to say that I think that as interest rates climb again, you will start to see some demand diminish and supply start. Essentially, we're going to get back eventually to equilibrium if we start seeing interest rates increase. If not, we will still, I mean, we've got a backlog of people that have not been able to find houses, guys. That's the same with everything. Refrigerators, furniture, pools. I'll talk about all that stuff. But my point here is that all these things are in a backlog for the last year and a half. And so that's the same that goes with houses too. And so here, I want to show you. It's been, between 2012 to about 2018, it's been in that 3.5 to 4.5 range. But it's under 4 is when you'll start seeing prices start climbing faster, which is part of the reason why it's been going down going to the 2s. Shocker, prices go up. Yes, the answer. Well, what was your question? These are Fannie Mae. Well, FHA, sorry, okay, I'm reading your question. FHA rates, generally speaking, and I will say that if you do get quotes, this is not a quote. So if you're looking for a loan now, talk to your lender because FHA will change depending on peripherals. Sorry, I'm reading all of your comments. Thank you. I need to have some help here for people to read comments for me, but because I'd love to answer them faster. But with FHA or conventional or VA, you will start seeing different rates. So this is more so as a guide, so you can see, generally speaking, where the numbers are trending. If you talk to your lender and you say prime is, for example, at 3.25, for example, you might see VA a little bit different than that, and also FHA a little bit different than that. So you probably know that. So my point in all this is to say that until that 4%, to me, that 4%-ish range hits, and you can keep checking your lenders to see, and that whether it be FHA, VA, or conventional, the more of those options that hit 4%, I personally think that you'll start seeing prices start dropping. However, that we are not close to that yet. The reason that matters is because we're in the time of year now where there's a perception of the market's slower, therefore I can get a better deal. Okay. If I give you a comparison right now of how things are now compared to how things were in June or July, I was seeing houses in June get like 15 to 20 offers on them. At least 10 plus % over asking price, guaranteed money over appraisal, all the stuff that you probably have all heard before, those terms. But that same house now will still get multiple offers even in the December time period. It's just that what happens is you will see fewer offers compared to what you'll see in June. So what people often think is it's gotten slower, therefore I can usually get a cheaper price on a house based on the sales price. That sometimes is the case. You'll see more houses sitting now than prior year or prior months because there are fewer people. There's less demand compared to last June or previous few months. That does not mean that demand has gone away. It's just diminished. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking for houses. Is when you're looking for a house now, between now and the end of the year, you will almost assuredly get a better price now than you would have 6 months ago. However, it does not mean you will not deal with multiple offers still. You could still deal with, I just had a situation a couple days ago, a great couple, some clients I have that we found a house that, it's a great house, but we still got 5 offers on it. And we got the house, but we had to be aggressive. And we went over 10%. Let's see, what was the math on that? Over 10% over asking price to get the house. That still feels uncomfortable, especially in a market that is in the wintertime. But that house would have gone higher, is my point, in June. So I'll stop for a second and answer some questions. Lo, thank you very much. I appreciate that. The answer is YouTube AdSense has not made me a millionaire yet. I also haven't been trying. I actually don't try to get AdSense. I don't like, my goal here is not to try and make money through YouTube ads. So that is what it is. Maybe that's just my own shortcoming there, but I've chosen not to do it that way personally. Good evening, Sam. Hope you have a nice Thanksgiving. And it goes, thank you. And that goes for all of you out there. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgivings. I love Thanksgiving. I love the football that comes with Thanksgiving. I like the food and the family, all of that. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. Not to interrupt, break the flow. Going by Zillow Redfin listings in the Virginia Beach area, are people still overbidding for houses? Well, to answer your question, yes. But I will say that it does not mean that every house is like that. And this is something we're going to remember to keep in mind now, even going into January and February, is that be mentally prepared for over asking listing or over list offer prices to make sure you get the house that you want. That does not mean that you need to do that all the time. So what my general rule of thumb is, once you get past the first 7 to 10 days, that usually is a good indicator, or 2 weekends, it's a good indicator of the demand for that house and that specific price. If it does not sell in that first couple of weekends, that usually tells me that the demand is not high enough for the house at that price. Therefore, you have usually some more wiggle room there with negotiation. Either it means just offering an asking price to make sure you get it, or offer maybe a little bit less, whatever you need to do to make sure if it's the house that you want. However, if you, there are going to be probably, I'd say 4 or 5 out of 10 houses might be like that now, as opposed to 1 back in June. Take this off. So be prepared for it. Just know that it won't be as extreme. And so I want to be able to show you I want to show you some statistics that I think will help you. I'm going to pull this chart up. This is what you get when you have the $0 budget streaming system that Sam has. And so I'm going to show you some analytics, but it might take a second to do that. So if you could just bear with me, I'm going to show you a few things, one of which is going to be, here we go, in the median sales price for houses going for the last 15 or so years. I'm going to share my screen again. Check this out. This is interesting. And we're going to go here. This is so median sales price for every area, whether it be South Side, Peninsula, that goes from everywhere from the border of Virginia Beach, North Carolina, all the way up through Williamsburg to the west. This is the average sales price, median sales price of all the areas combined every month since 2004. If you notice something here, you're going to see the big jump up. You see it went way up from 2019 all the way. It was like the average or the median sales price in 19 was 253, and it dropped down to 242, 235. It shot way up in 2020. Of course, we all know what happened there. And then into 2021, it did it again. But if you notice, it does it every year. It just doesn't do it as extreme as these last couple of years. But if you notice, look at the lowest, the dip of every dip you got here, January. Let's see, it says 2020, the first month of 2020. That's January 2020. First month of 2019. First month and second month of 2018. First month of 2017. First month of 2016. First month of 2015, and so on and so forth. If you notice, every year, the lowest priced houses in the area, sales price, median, happen in January. But what does that mean? It does not mean that the lowest house prices are in January. It means that the lowest house prices are in December, because those January sales are registered from December contracts, generally speaking, right? November sometimes, but primarily you've got a 30, 40-day close, maybe usually 30 days. You can basically say, okay, if January's closing or the closings are going to be the lowest, it means that December's purchase prices were the lowest. What does that mean? It means that you can get the cheapest price for a house right now, well, between now-ish and through the December time period. And then as soon as you get past there, going back, I'm going to show this to you one more time to give some context. As soon as you get past that December, it goes, look at that, 3rd, 4th, 5th month, 6th month, third, 6 month, you see it shoots up. Once it gets past the second, third month, March, February, March, it shoots up. So you see the ride, it rides up every year. And that's a big deal. That means that, well, a couple things. It means that people often wait until that time to get a house, and that usually generates demand, which generates the prices go up, all that stuff. And if you notice, it also tells you something else about appreciation. House appreciation doesn't go in a straight line. It doesn't go straight up. It goes in a trajectory, like you saw on that stat. But it also doesn't go in a straight line. So you start listening to news stories talking about, oh, the market's going down. Is the market sagged? Of course it has. It's December. It's January. It's November. It's October. You're hearing Zillow. Zillow bought all those houses in the last several months. And you hear about those iBuying, that program they have, and they stopped doing it. I mean, they bought their houses in the peak time of the year, and now they're trying to sell them in the end of the year. Now, I'm not saying I know all about their strategy, but in general, that's not a shocker. That should be expected. So we're back to the chart. You're going to see the line from 2011, when that crash happened. 2011 goes up every year. That line goes in the pattern, and now finally it started going a little bit higher. But in general, my point here is that if you're selling a house, or if you're buying a house in a different state, or selling a house in a different state and moving here, you're going to see that your house price at this moment in time most likely will also be at the lowest it's been. So you're going to get it on both ends. Just like if you sold your house in April, you're going to get the top dollar for it proportionally, but you're also going to be buying into the same market here. So that's important to know. And so again, I stress this element. If you can buy in before the end of the year, you will get the best price most likely for the same house, as opposed to buying it in January and February and so on. Well, then you say, Sam, that's great. Well, what does that mean for me in my process? A couple of things. One is I would definitely, if you can transfer from wherever you're living to here quickly and able to do it, from your house and move straight across to this next house, that's great. But the problem that we're having is that there are also many fewer rentals available. Is that the right way to say it? There are much fewer amount of rentals. Sounds weird. Than there are, generally speaking, in the market here. So what does that mean? It means that when you're trying to find a house just to crash somewhere for a few months, or for a year, or for however long, it's harder to find the house that you want, whether it be in the school district that you want, whether it be in the general area that you want, work anywhere. It's hard to find rentals. And when you do, the prices have gone up, and I'm seeing them go up sometimes hundreds of dollars per month for the same house you could have gotten, maybe $1,400 last year, or, a few months ago. You now have to pay maybe $1,550, $1,600. So I've seen some that we would have gone for $17, now going for $2,000. The numbers are increasing, and part of that is because the supply is lower. So because of that too, you will see fewer short-term rental options on the open rental market, because people, unless they want to do a short-term rental, people are able to do long-term rentals because they got to find somewhere to stay. So my suggestion would be also to look for an Airbnb. If you are trying to find a house, whether it be in the first part of this year, the end of this year, or the first part of 2022, finding a short-term rental would be so helpful for you as far as from an Airbnb perspective. I would suggest not doing. It's hard to find short-term rentals on the open rental market, but if you do short-term rentals, Airbnb could be a very good option. I've talked to some people recently. Seems like that might be some options for people. Oh, I see, Chris G. Yeah, fewer apartments. I couldn't even get an apartment. Yeah, so. I hear you. That is a very, very common thing, and it's very hard to tell people that, because you want to be able to help people with solutions, but it's hard when the solution almost sometimes doesn't exist. So my point is, I look at Airbnbs definitely, because what that does is it allows you to possibly do a month, 2 months, 3 months, a few weeks. it depends on what the Airbnb host allows you. But my point is, it's a lot shorter, but it doesn't require you to be stuck in a long-term lease if you want to buy a house in the next few months. Especially if you're waiting for new construction, which right now, if you're getting at new construction right now, then you're talking 6 months, most likely, for most new construction, if not longer than that, if it hasn't even, if they haven't pulled permits. So it could be a lot longer, 8 months, 9 months. It's going to be some time. So, but being able to be flexible will also help with that. So Airbnb is number one. Number two, what was my number two? Seasonal rentals. Sorry, I try not to look at notes very much. Sometimes I go off the fly and I don't remember everything I'm saying. Rentals on seasonal down near the beach. If you go down towards the north end, there might be some options like the northeastern corner of Virginia Beach. And I can show you the map if you want, but also in the southeastern corner where Sandbridge is, some good seasonal rental options might be coming up in the wintertime as people are not able to rent those places as well in the summer, or as they could in the summertime. They're off season. So you might be able to find a nice bridge for a place until, like, for example, March or April, get like a 6-month lease, 4 or 5 month lease, whatever, get that amount of time to be able to find the house you want, because the closing time is going to be about 30 days, 30 to 40 days max, but really 30 days. And also, trying to find a house, it may take you a few days, especially now. But, if it goes into January, February, it might take a week or two, whatever. But my point is here, make sure you have some flexibility, because at the same time, you don't want to be trying to break a lease that you have 9 months left to break unless you really have to. And being able to be flexible from the seller's perspective of finding a house here is also important, because if you have a multiple offer situation, you can offer to what's the word? Do a rent back to where the seller can stay at the house with at the house that you're buying. You can stay in your Airbnb or whatever, because you have some time to let them transition out. That's a huge deal when you're trying to buy a house from somebody that has a multiple offer situation and they're trying to find the best optimal way to move out of their house. Let them say, hey, you can stay in your house. It's very, very helpful. So that's another helpful thing. I would definitely just make sure to just find some short-term rental options. And I'll answer another question for you. Sounds like cyclical historical real estate demand yet for East Coast, hot market spring, summer, fall, pull back during winter, spending craze. That is exactly right. And I do think that people think that the real estate market is different than other markets, trading markets. And it really, in some ways it is different, but in a lot of cases it's not. I'm saying it's cyclical. You can put a watch to this. Even in the craziest markets that we've been in, that slows and pulls back, because we're dealing with people's lives and they can only move during certain times of the year, which is why you can get a better deal right now. So anyway, wife moved here 2 years ago. Your videos were very helpful in finding an area to rent. We're planning on buying sometime next year, depending on the market. That's awesome. Glad to help. I hope you enjoy it here as much as I do. And if you need any help as far as buying, obviously this is what I do too. So please let me know. I will help you. Similar to the stock market and car industry. Yes, exactly. The used car market right now is insane, by the way. So is Deep Creek area nice? So to me, I like a lot of Deep Creek. I mean, not all of it though. So it depends on where you are. And I know we're kind of diverting off of the general topic, but this is important to say, because this is a general concept for all of Hampton Roads. Is Deep Creek, you'll see online, you'll see the school districts aren't ranked as high. Deep Creek High School, middle, you'll see kind of the elementary schools around there kind of are sporadic. So you got to be aware of that, but also remember that the school districts, the rankings don't always tell the whole story. I feel like you might know that by now, that you can only know so much with a number and a grade number on a website. But honestly, that's all you got to go off of, right? So what else are you going to do? But asking neighbors is helpful. Talking to as many people here as possible. People that might have been worked in the school system, or have a kid in the school system, or multiple. But in general, Deep Creek, you've got some spots that are in general, it's an older part of Chesapeake. It is not, when you see pictures of Chesapeake that are like the country part of Chesapeake or suburbia. This is more of a, not commercial. It's kind of commercial, I guess, industrial a little bit. You'll see more businesses that have warehouses and plants over in this section. But at the same time, you'll have some kind of some smaller, like single story. I mean, you get a lot of wide range of houses, but the price ranges are a lot lower. So you can get a house in the Deep Creek area for, like a 260, 270 house. You'd be able to, you had to have paid in the mid threes or low threes in Virginia Beach or, South Chesapeake for the same house. So you do get a discount there. But again, the area is not as, it's not as, what's the good word for it? There's not as much grocery shopping there. Everything's older. It just doesn't feel like new and fresh, and so that being said, there are some nice neighborhoods in Deep Creek, and there are a lot of times where people that drive through Deep Creek and get to the neighborhood, you're like, I didn't know this was in Deep Creek. I didn't know I was in Deep Creek. Happens a lot, and it happens all over the Hampton Roads area, everywhere. So it includes Williamsburg, it includes York County, it includes Newport News, Hampton, York, Isle of Wight, Smithfield, Virginia Beach, all of the cities. You will see the sporadicness for the most part in each city, based on, if you see a house that's in Virginia Beach for 175, there's a reason why it's 175. If it's a detached house, and it usually is because either the condition is not there or the neighborhood's not in demand, right? Same goes with every city, and so you got that. Generally speaking, in Deep Creek, it's just not in as high demand. So hope that answers your question, but there are a couple of places like in Deep Creek and other cities too. Newport News is a great pivot to places in the same price range as Deep Creek. I love parts of Newport News. Some awesome neighborhoods there. The difference would be obviously the drive distance if you have to work down in the Chesapeake side. But anyway, that being said, I want to talk now about the process of when you're moving, and so a few other things to consider as you're planning the purchase and which house you pick, because this will influence which house you pick. Right now, you've seen it. It is hard to find a lot of different things in the commercial or the what's the word for the, prices of goods have gone up, but also the scarcity of goods has gone up. So it's hard to find certain things, furniture, even workers, employees for contractors, and pools, windows, basically anything that takes to build a house could in some way have had some sort of delay that has caused a problem with the installation of something or a person's job, being able to finish the job at your house. Renovation is taking longer, everything. So my point here is that if you're buying a house that needs to be renovated, buying that house before it gets renovated, know that you will have to do it, but plan for a longer process. We're doing that ourselves right now. My wife and I, we are going through a huge renovation project, and it is so long, and for a myriad of reasons, but it's hard. Again, it's hard for contractors to find help, good help. It's hard for contractors to find good materials oftentimes, or for the price that they said that they could get it for. Everything's changing, and it has changed, at least for the short term. And so that includes things like pools. And I mentioned pools a lot because the demand for pools has gone up because it's taken so freaking long for a pool to get put in. Expect it to take months, if not a year or more, for a pool company to be able to put a pool into the house that you buy. If you're buying a house without a pool and you want to put a pool in, expect it right now for it to not be done before the next season is over. I'm not joking. So what's happened? The pivot. I'll buy a house with a pool. What happens? Houses with pools go up in price. So if you can get a house with a pool already and it's what you want, fantastic. But keep in mind, you will be paying a premium for that pool. And the same goes with all the other things. If a house is totally renovated inside and you don't have to do anything to it, there is a premium for that. And so keep that in mind when you're making offers on houses. If you think there are multiple offers on a house that's coming in, it's good chances because you don't have to do anything to it. Fully move-in ready. It's updated the way that people like. Maybe it's got a pool. Maybe it has the right amount of bedrooms without having to add on. It checks all those boxes without having to do anything. Right now, people do not want to deal with all that stuff because it's so long of a process. So just keep in mind, you can get a little bit better price for a house has not been renovated, generally speaking. But if you don't want to deal with that, you're going to be paying for it. Now, granted, you're going to be paying for it if you buy the house that needs to be renovated as well. It depends on how you want to do it. So it's not an automatic, foolproof way. just get a house that's cheap and get a house that needs to be renovated, and you're good. Well, everybody thinks that way. So it depends on what kind of. There are a lot of other things to factor in, but watch your other videos. I concur. Love to have some professional support team. Yeah, I agree. It's been my lifelong dream. Attracting Fortune 500, 1,000 companies to come to VA, much more prosperous. Yeah, it's hard right now. It's hard, and I'm hoping that the military circle is projecting to have the potential for an arena to be built there. That's one of the options, but we don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, there's always talk about an arena or additional some sort of convocation center or something, but again, we need that. We need the ability to get people in and out. We also need the support from the local community and from financiers. We need a lot. We're just on that cusp, and I'm hoping we can get somebody to agree to just invest some money here. And again, if we can get some sport that can maybe focus on the military side of this, we can have maybe the entire military in the country could support our team, because it would be the way to get a fan base as opposed to trying to market just to the locals. Just market to the entire military, right? Anyways, sorry, I digress. Everything's going up, up, up. Yes. Absolutely. But it's been going down, down, down just a little bit. Some sellers are trying to price their houses too high. You'll see this a lot of times. You'll see people that should sell their house for 500. They'll list it for 540. So like, oh, well, I'll ask for 540. Then I can get 565 for it, because people will offer over asking price. Okay. That is not always the way it works. So if you plan on buying, just know that if it goes on the market, it does not mean it's going to get multiple offers. So if you do have some time, wait it out. Just wait out a few days. See, like 7, 8, 9, 10 days. See what happens. Then you'll know you won't have to be as aggressive. But there are other strategies you can employ to not, to be aggressive, offer right away, but not necessarily allow yourself to wait until day 7 or 10 or whatever. So anyway, I think that's good for questions. Anything else I should include here? Got some notes I want to talk about. So there's one other thing I want to talk about that's very specific to how to make an offer and how to structure your offer and to what to prepare for when you're making the offer, is that if you are moving here, California, North Dakota, New York, Florida, Texas, I don't care where you're coming from. If you're selling your house, please manage the process of when you're selling your house and the closing time that you have for what you're selling your house. Please factor in how long it will take you to buy the next house in with how you're processing the house that you're selling. Meaning, for example, if you have multiple offers on a house in, let's just say, Kansas. If you're living in Kansas, you have multiple offers on a house in Kansas. Well, factor in if they want to close in 30 days, well, ask, maybe they want to do a rent back. See if you can stay for a couple extra weeks. Give yourself some time, if you can, to be able to find the house, whether it be rental or purchase over here, because you might need it. And it's competitive here, so you want to give yourself as much flexibility as possible. And if your market is like ours, where it is still very competitive, take advantage of that if possible. See if you can get a little bit of a cushion there. It's not across the board. Just talk to your agent to see what makes the most sense there, but make sure you have as much cushion time, because if you plan on, saying, hey, I'm going to sell my house now and close in February. If you do that, you are severely jeopardizing your ability to get a house here until near the time your house closes. Because right now here, most houses are not expecting a buyer to make an offer with a 60, 90-day or 120-day plus closing time. 30 days is kind of the standard. That's what most buyers are looking, or sellers are looking for. And if you can give them what they're looking for, more of what they're looking for, you can get the house if it's a multiple offer situation. So you got to keep in mind that 30 days here is pretty normal. That being said, the lender you pick is incredibly important when it comes to closing times. There are some lenders, and I won't name names, and maybe I should, but I'm not. There are some lenders that take forever to close. If they say it's going to take 45 days to close, that's not the market norm. Even 40 days is not the market norm. Usually about 30 days. And you can do 35 is okay. Sometimes even 40 maybe. But if they're giving you reasons as to why it's taking at least that or longer, that's because their processes are slow, in my opinion. It's not because of, they can blame the market, they can blame the appraiser, it can blame all this kind of stuff. But generally speaking, it usually is most of the time because of the lender's processes. So what does that mean? It means that if your lender is telling you, oh, just ask for a 50-day closing or whatever amount length of closing, longer closing. What does that mean? It means that you are now at a disadvantage when you're making an offer with on a house that has multiple, and the other offers are saying they'll close in 30 days or 25 or 35 or whatever. That extra time is important to a seller. And if you cannot give them a shorter closing time, if that's what they're looking for, you are at a significant disadvantage to start. That doesn't even include all the other terms of an offer. You have to offset that with other things, other offer pieces like asking price, earnest money. You have to increase your asking price. You have to increase the amount of earnest money. You have to change maybe how you do your inspections, other things like that. So there are a lot of dynamics that can change. And if you start out the gate not being able to close quickly, or you have a lender that is notorious for closing late, not closing on time, that's big. That is a big deal, and it can severely cost you either the house that you want, or it may force you to pay a lot more than you need to get the same house that you would have been a lot cheaper to get otherwise. And I understand there's different reasons to get lenders, certain lenders. You do you. But just know that there is a cost for a slow lender or an inaccurate lender that does not qualify someone well at the beginning, or does not give accurate information and doesn't update people. And the last thing I'll mention to that is if someone can qualify you super fast without doing very much at all at the beginning, the chances are it means that they have not done what they need to do to qualify you. That does not mean you don't qualify. It means that the reputation of that lender is to not get information that they need from you right away. And if that's the case, that is not a good sign for the process. It means that there could be delays. That's part of what happens with why delays happen, is if those things that they're looking for, that they need to get from you, they ask for too late in the process. And now they're scrambling, or you're scrambling, and now what they said was 40 days might have been 50 days or 55 or 60 or longer. I mean, some of these lenders are taking forever. So anyway, just keep that in mind as you're doing lender shopping per se. Then another thing I'll mention is earnest money deposits. Earnest money deposits right now, if you have a house that's, for example, $500,000, $1,000 is still, you can get by with that, but I always suggest more, $2,000, $3,000. Around the cost of a mortgage payment is a nice rule of thumb to use, just for the sake of showing some strength in the game in the offer. But otherwise, $300,000, you can drop it some as you go down a little bit, but just keep in mind, the more in earnest money you put in, meaning like a deposit, the more you put in, the stronger the offer is, and keep that in mind. I'll stop and answer your question here. Is that becoming an issue? Lender loans. What's a lender loan? I read an article that suggested if you don't have a 760 or above, you're not getting approved. Crazy. No, I'm not seeing it that high. I mean, a lot of lenders are strict, or can be strict, and it depends on what type of loan program you're getting. But 760, I guess it depends on why the lender is saying that. But I'm not sure what lender loans are. If you can clarify. But anyway, so back to earnest money deposits. I would not go under $1,000, but make sure you have that money ready to go before you start actually looking. That goes to the next thing I do. Follow this under the umbrella of preparing for moving, preparing for relocating here, buying the next house. And the first thing is earnest money. Having that, I'd say $2,000 to $3,000 is good. Yeah, I saw your loan 760 credit score. Yeah, I know. I'm not sure what is that. That's in reference to. But sorry. Anyway, I'll finish what I'm saying here. Is that you've got what to prepare for money wise is earnest money. At least $1,000, probably closer to 2 or 3, maybe 5 or 10, depends on the offer, depends on the house, lots of different things. And you got to be prepared for home inspection costs. So if you get a home inspection, probably around $600 ish. Make sure you have that ready. And if I can say to that, tying this in with the lender concept, is this whole cost related category of when you're trying to buy a house, what cost do you have? It's those inspection things, also the earnest money deposit. The appraisal is going to have some costs, usually around 600 or I would say at this point, but each appraisal might be a little bit different there. But the next thing is when you get qualified with a lender, I would do that actually as soon as you can. So this is the other cost related thing that I think you should know is if you get qualified with a lender early, even well before you want to buy, that significantly influences your ability to make good decisions quickly and monetary decisions outside of houses. Because what often happens is the areas here are so specific. We talked about neighborhoods like Deep Creek, where you got different types of neighborhoods in the same part of town. You'll see that neighborhood type and quality and house style, it can change with as low as like a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 difference. That's important because if you think you can qualify for $400,000 or $600,000, well, a $425 house compared to a $400 house might be just enough difference for you to really like what you want as opposed to like, I'm settling a little bit. My point is that payment difference could only be around like $100, $150 a month difference between like 4 and 425. I'm not saying that's nothing. I'm just using this as an example. But my point here is that difference, if you knew that up front, if you knew that the amount that you really should have wanted to go for the house that you want was 425 instead of 4, you might change your budgeting strategy completely to fit that new number. You might put a different amount of money down for that house. You might change if you have different types of loans that you might want to pay off. For example, if you have a $100 a month credit card, let's check your credit cards. If you have a rolling account that you're paying monthly on for your credit cards, if you're paying $100 a month on that credit card, that same $100 a month is the equivalent of almost $20,000 of mortgage for current interest rates, generally speaking. That means that's that 400 to 420 price difference. That's $20,000 of house. That changes the dynamic of what house you might be able to get. But that $100 a month credit card payment is so much less. Like you might, I don't know what the credit card interest rates would be if it's $2,000 you've got on a credit card or $1,000 or whatever. I'm not sure what the monthly. You might rake me over the coals in the comments about how much your $1,000 credit card bill is per month. But my point here is the amount of money you're paying for your credit card, for the amount of money you owe for that credit card is a much greater proportion to the amount of money you're paying per month for the same amount of payment, but for mortgage, if that makes sense. So you're going to be losing 20 grand worth of purchasing power in that house because you have a $1,000 credit card bill that you haven't paid off. So my point here is it might behoove you to pay that credit card off. But if you didn't know that at the beginning, you might not have the money or might have the money allocated to pay that credit card off early. And now you've had to change the strategy you make towards getting the house that you want, and the entire process changes. So all that to say is at the very beginning of your process, it could be 3 months prior to moving. It could be 6 months prior to moving. It could be even longer than that, a year often prior to moving. Talk to a lender as early as possible. And you don't even have to get your credit pulled if you don't want to. That's up to you that early because you're going to have to get it. You're going to have to reapply later. But talk to a lender up front and at least get the conversation going so you can find out where you stand and really what you need to strategize to prepare for when it comes to actually making the offer on a house, because that will change everything. The whole dynamic of the house that you search for changes. I think that is one of the most underrated facets of finding a house is starting the loan process, the conversation early, because it changes everything, the entire dynamic of everything. Let's see. Oh, no. I mean, sorry, Bush. You can totally email me. I should put my email address here, sam@samsansalone.com, sam@samsansalone.com, SAMSANSALONE. Well, it's my channel name. But no, you don't have to shut up. I didn't mean like that. I'm sorry. But I wasn't following what you were saying. Yeah, email me and I'll respond back to you. Wayman Brown, great to catch you live. Yeah, awesome. You focus on Hampton Roads. Okay, very cool. considering Richmond as well, Hampton and Norfolk to relocate. Oh, thanks, Wayman. Yeah, Richmond. Richmond's been wild too for the most part, in parts of in the market up there as well, especially near the fan around the downtown area has been quite wild. But yeah, just so you know, if anybody has questions about where I often work, I'm all the way down to from the border of North Carolina and Virginia Beach in Virginia, up through Williamsburg. I'd say another 30 minutes beyond that. So there's places like Providence Forge and beyond, like Lenexa, up all around there, and just a little bit west. That's most of the territory. I'm licensed in the whole state, but that's most of where I do most of my work. So if you have questions or need, for example, looking in Richmond and need help finding somebody in Richmond to help you, I do know some people that would be able to help you if that is a question you have for specific information about Richmond, because again, markets do change pretty quickly, and they change based on the location, not just the city or not just the state, it's region. And sometimes it's city, and sometimes the market in each neighborhood can change. That's how fast things change here. So a couple other things I want to mention in terms of how to prepare for getting a house in 2022 is that one kind of reiteration is to be prepared for that over asking price offer. You will get surprised. You could get blown out of the water if you think that you're in January, it's going to be slower. I'm beating the rush. You're not beating the rush. There's still a rush now. It's just not as much of a rush. So consider each time you go out and look for houses like Black Friday, got to be prepared, be mentally prepared for what it will take, because you might walk into a situation that requires 6-7 offers. You got to be aggressive. And another thing is new construction. If you're looking for a new construction house right now, it's going to still take 6 to 8 to 9 months, possibly a year. There will be some houses that will still be standing inventory for the larger builders. A couple of them might have very select few, not too many. So if you want something very specific, you need to be prepared to plan in advance for several months so you can pick the things that you want. You can get the lot that you want. And also prices are going up. New construction prices have gone up so much. I'm seeing, for a good example, is Princess Anne Meadows is a neighborhood in Virginia Beach. That was like in the mid 500s a year and a half ago. It's now low 700s. It's gone up so much in just a matter of a year and a half. And so you got to just know that new construction, partly because of the prices and materials, there's going to be an increase in the amount of houses that go, I'd say, several percent higher than they have been. Like you're going to start seeing them continue to rise, I think, unless, again, interest rates go up. If interest rates go back up, continue to go up enough, then you'll start seeing some demand decrease. But again, at the same time, the thing about this area is that the people that are moving here, a lot of them have to move anyway. So they're going to be buying or renting regardless because of the military. There's so many people coming in and out. It's part of that's what helps with even when a downturn in the market, because like even when the real estate crash happened in 2008, the market was stabilized. It still dropped, but it wasn't nearly as much as most areas because there were so many people that were still getting guaranteed salaries, still getting base housing allowances. They were still paying and moving into the area. So that's kind of that keeps this market pretty more stable than a lot of other places that don't have as much military presence, because we have so much military. Oh, that's the elephant in the room, inflation. Yeah, I mean, that's part of what's happening here with the house prices. I mean, materials, like you said, inflation with new construction, everything is going up, guys. At least has been, at least. Leaning towards the pros of getting a townhouse as long as the HOA isn't extremely intrusive. Yeah, that's a big drawback for HOAs. Also, one of the positives for getting an HOA is obviously that's wise because it keeps the area stable. But yeah, it's tough. I'm pretty particular to me about HOAs and which ones I like or types that I like. They're hard to find ones that have pools. There are a few, but there aren't too many, as many as you might think. And I've actually had a conversation yesterday with someone about gated communities. And I mentioned the fact that there are a lot fewer gated communities than what you might expect. There aren't as many planned subdivisions that have gated communities. You'll see some, but just not nearly to the extent that you might experience in some of the newer cities that have lots more newer developments in them. That I don't have a good comparison in a city in a different state, but just you won't see maybe as many as you might expect. So anyway, so I think that is, if I can cover the cost, be prepared for the cost, be early in your offer, in your search process, start early. Have the money ready, get your lender qualification ready earlier than you might. Everything that you think you're on time for, try and make it earlier. Be earlier. Do everything early, because I think you might need extra time and everything. You might need extra time and everything to feel like you're getting the right house at the right price and feel comfortable in the process, especially with the lender. Prepare early. If you have questions like for references, I can give you several references. But again, all those types of things, they're up to you too, to feel like you're gonna get the service and treatment you get with whatever lender you pick or any other contractor or company you pick in the home searching process. Okay, so I think that is. I think you got any other questions I can answer for you. Interest rates in VA loans. So again, that you will see differences based on the lender you pick. So that's what, man, guys, like lenders matter. You can go to a lender and get you can go to 6 different lenders and get 6 different rates, and they will change what they charge you based on what rate they might give you. You could talk to one lender and says they'll give you like a 1% less rate than everybody else. And you're like, why is it so much cheaper? Well, the reason could be because they are buying your rate down. They are charging you for that rate, which anybody can do. It's just that other places might not have done that because they didn't want to charge you without asking you. So some people will say, hey, I can give you this super low rate. Well, it's low for a reason. Just keep that in mind. It's low for a reason. People are all usually working off of pretty much generally the same numbers. It's a matter of how you juggle them. That's not across the board, but for the most part, that's how it works, or it can work. So rates can matter, but also it's not all about the rate. It's about how much you're paying for that rate. It's very important. Like your Suffolk video. Thank you. I will be making more. I will be making more. There are so many areas I want to make videos about. And so, oh my gosh, because I love doing this, guys. I love doing it. I feel grateful that you guys listen to me or like watching me. I hope I can keep giving you the same good information that I feel like I kind of make a commitment to doing, because I feel like it is hard to find honest information from people in the business. I don't know if that's not true for everybody, because there are some wonderful people in this business. I just know that I've noticed it is hard to find just really kind of down to earth. This is how it is. And so I just want to be able to keep doing that for you guys. And if you find anybody else that does that too, stick with them. They are doing a great job for you. Should you engage loan companies like banks? Make sure they're FDIC approved. I mean, if you're concerned about the legitimacy of your bank, that might not be a good bank to get a loan from. Are you talking about like credit unions? I mean, I would say for the most part, my suggestion is to get a local lender from the area that you're choosing. Local is important partly because they have an office that is close that people can put a face to. That is important for a seller or for a listing agent. Make sure you do that. And you can do other things. You can go from a company that's another state that is licensed in Virginia. You can do that. It just means that there is less confidence in those types of lenders for various reasons. But you can totally do that. It's just, there are some things you may have to compensate for in the offer process if you do want to do that. I think I kind of abruptly ended that comment there. I guess that's the answer to your question. I'm picking Suffolk. I want the big yards. Yep. Okay. That is good reason. And also consider Chesapeake, but Suffolk, generally speaking, is a little bit cheaper. Also, you could go into the northwestern section of Hampton Roads, for example, Carrollton and Smithfield. But again, Suffolk's huge, so I don't know how far into Suffolk you wanted to go, but I get the reason for the big yards. There are more options there. You're a gem. Oh, thank you. I'll double down. Thanks for taking the time. You're very welcome. Straight. Yep. So I don't have a super chat. Maybe I should do that. I mean, guys, should I do a super chat? I'm not good at asking for money. So I appreciate that immensely. Honestly, the support you give and the encouragement is what I appreciate. If you know of anybody that needs to relocate here, or you're relocating here, you feel free to reach out to me. That's what I do, is to help people relocate here. I spend so much time helping people that have never been here before. I try and make sense of this area for people, help them so that they can feel like they're getting here, not just back at square one, just trying to figure life out. So I love doing that. What was the answer? Oh, yes. Okay, I will do that. I will find some way to get a super chat going so you guys, if you want to, can donate. I appreciate that. And I never thought I would be in that situation. So thanks a lot, guys. So let's wrap it up. If you have any questions, again, my number is 757-577-8764. You can call, email, text. My email is sam@samsansalone.com. You can go on my website, samsansalone.com too. Keep watching my videos. I'll keep doing them every week. You can comment there too. I try and respond to comments as much as I can, but again, it's hard to juggle all the places. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I will keep making them. And please have a Merry Christmas and Happy Thanksgiving, Happy holiday season for you. And get ready for the rush in January. Start looking for houses early if you can. And I will see you on the next video.